Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary and today's video is the start of my September vlogs. So in the month of September, I am participating in the Everbloom Academy readathon, which I've already done my TBR for, which I will link for you in case you have not seen it and you want to know what I'm planning on reading this month. I'm also tentatively going to try to participate in Orillium. I mentioned this before, I don't think I'm going to be able to do the character thing because it seems like a lot of work, and I applaud people who can do it, and G for creating it is amazing, but I need something a little easier. Just straight prompts are easier for me. So I have written down all the prompts. I have not gone through and picked books for them all. There's a lot. So I would just be picking and choosing kind of, which I think is kind of the point. You're only supposed to take certain classes and get certain grades, but I'll link her video down below if I remember to, so that you can see sort of what I'm talking about if you don't already know. I have started my reading for September already. On Sunday, which is September 1st, I did just read all of the fourth Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, the fourth Bridgerton book by Julia Quinn. I put this off because I was so excited to read it, and I really wanted to make sure I was in a good spot to read it. I didn't really I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. My favorite is still Benedict's book, which is book 3. And then I also really liked book 1. I wasn't a big fan of Kate and Anthony's book, unfortunately, because I do like them as a couple. I just the circumstances of them getting together is just not my favorite thing. And I wanted more pining from Colin and Penelope in their book. If you don't know, Bridgerton is a Regency historical romance series set in the Regency era. It's been made into a TV show on Shondaland, or it's on Netflix by Shondaland Media, which is Shonda Rhimes' company. And the whole thing, the thing that made the show really popular is that they've really diversified the cast. So they are they're changing a lot. I'm planning on still making a video. Once I read the rest of the books, I kind of want to make a video on how I feel about the show so far, and then what I think the show might do going forward. I don't know how popular that video is going to be, just because I know it's a very popular show, but it's been a while since the last season came out, and that's what spurred me wanting to do this. So there are 8 books because there are 8 Bridgerton children. The 4th book follows Colin, who is the 3rd Bridgerton son and the 3rd Bridgerton child. And it's his romance with Penelope Featherington, who is a girl who is a neighbor of his, and or a neighbor of his family's, I suppose. And she's really good friends with his younger sister, Eloise. And what's interesting is, at this point in the books, Colin is in his 30s. And I want to say Penelope's 26 or 28 or something like that, which is very different from the show. She's basically an old maid or a spinster, and she's always had a thing for Colin Bridgerton. She never got any marriage proposals, so she's just sort of resigned to the fact that she's just going to live with her mom for the rest of her life and be her mom's caretaker as her mom gets old, basically. And Colin has been traveling the world, and he comes back for a season, and his mom is, again, trying to get him to get married. He's not really interested in it at all, and then he sort of discovers that he has feelings for Penelope, and they have this friends to lovers romance thing. And it does do a little bit of flashing back, which I appreciated, but I wanted more pining. And I feel the reason that you get more pining in the show is because you see them for 2 seasons interacting, and then in the 3rd season is when they get together in the show. The show goes a little bit out of order, which is fine. It's a different take, but I didn't mind it, I guess. Again, I will do a more thorough video on this once I finish the whole series. But as I read that, I don't really know if it doesn't fulfill anything for the Everbloom Academy readathon. Sorry. It might fulfill something for Orillium. I will have to go back and check to see if it fulfills any first boxes. And then the first book that I've started of my Everbloom Academy TBR, I started yesterday, and that is The End of Policing by Alex Vitale. I don't know how his last name is pronounced, but this is for the prompt is a book that features good versus evil or teaches you a lesson. It's what the prompt is. I can't remember what class it's for, sorry. And the lesson about that, I decided that any nonfiction would count for teaching me a lesson, and this is one of the oldest ones I have on my TBR, to be honest. So this book, how do I describe this? It's a nonfiction book, obviously. It's about the problems with police reform, basically. And right now, I'm not very far into it at all. It's very information heavy, which is okay. It's also very US focused. So I think if you are not from the US, this book might not mean a lot to you because it's about specifically the police of the United States. So take that for what you will. But it's talking a lot about how different police brutality things happened, and then different responses that people have had to it, and why this author thinks that those responses aren't actually doing anything. One of the big responses you hear a lot is to train police into like not using lethal force and training them in other ways, like conflict mitigation, things like that. And he's also talked a lot about like, there are private agencies in the US that are not, like the police is a public agency, typically. I know there are exceptions to that rule, but typically it's a public agency, meaning it's run by the states, paid for with taxpayer dollars. There are contractors that contract with the government to train the police, and some of those contracting companies are like basically militia, and they're a lot of like former military guys, and they're training police in like military conduct, and why that's like probably not helpful for policing a community, because we're not at war with each other. So that's been interesting. It's also like right now he's really just doing an overview. So he's talking about specific different metrics that have been put in, like body camera footage, and why body camera footage was thought to be helpful and why he doesn't really think it's helpful. I kind of disagree with him on that. I think body camera footage, a lot of the instances where he's coming up where it's not helpful is when it's not been utilized. So I think there should be stricter punishments on not using your body camera, like being fired. Personally, that would be how I would solve that problem. But like if you think about it, every job that you have, there are cameras. Like I work in a law firm. There are cameras all over my law firm. I don't wear one on my body, but I am on camera most of the time. In courtrooms are full of cameras. You are on camera at all times. And just things like that, like the argument that it's a like violation of the citizen's privacy, I get a little bit more, because he is talking about how like it's possible that, and he hasn't used any examples of this, so I don't know if this is actually a thing that's happening or if this is just something that he's opining about, but it's possible that police officers could be gathering footage via body camera of normal citizens that would not normally be accused of a crime and using their combined footage to build charges for someone. Again, I don't know if that's happening. I've not heard anything about it. If he reports back that it is happening, I will let you know. But that's been something that I think is interesting. And he's also saying they increase police budgets every time there's like a not mass shooting, but like every time a citizen is shot, like an unarmed citizen. That's been happening a lot in the US forever, really, but in the last 10 years especially. 10 years ago is when Michael Brown was shot in Ferguson. So that's like a big thing that's happening, and it's been a big cultural movement to defund the police. And typically when those things happen, there actually is funding added to the police, and it's used on extra training, but it's not actually used in the parts of the legal process that might need more money, like focusing on rehabilitation in prisons. Because one of the things that we say in this country that a reason that we imprison people is so that we can rehabilitate them, so that they can go back and become active members of society. So it really doesn't make sense to not have any rehabilitation efforts unless someone is a lifer in prison. And even then, like, we don't just like lock them up and throw away the key, you know? You can have different opinions on that if you want, but it is something that I think a lot about, because, I mean, hearing stories about people who were imprisoned when they were like 18, 19 for like a drug crime, okay? They get out 10 years later. They're now nearly 30. They have no formal education because they might not have been able to finish high school because they were involved in all this stuff. They did not get to go to college because they were in here. They did not get any on-the-job training. If anything, they've been like used as basically slave labor, which is still legal in the US. If you're in jail, you can have to work for no pay as part of your punishment. And then they're released and they're not given anything to like help them become an actual member of society. Like they've never lived in a society. They don't know what to do. So that is something that I think should be more focused on. And I think he is going to lean into that eventually. But, you know, we'll see. I don't know if this is going to make me think that police should be abolished entirely, because I don't know if I think that right now, without like very good alternative measures. And I don't know what those alternative measures would be because I haven't read the book yet. So I will let you know how I feel when I do read more of it. I will also let you know if I start anything else. I have been reading The Talented Mr. Ripley. I had a library hold of it. I started it and then I lost my hold of it immediately, basically last month. And I just got the hold back. So I have started reading that again. I read a little bit of that last night. That's like I think it's from the 50s. But it's a book about this con artist who gets hired by a family to go get their son back from Europe. And I'm pretty sure I know what happens because I have read another book that in a review said that it was a ripoff of that book. And I really enjoyed the other book that I read. So I'm hoping I'll like this one as well. But I think Matt Damon is in the movie. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. I would like to live in ignorance. But there was just recently a remake, and I think it's a TV show, maybe, on one of the streaming platforms. So I hope that once I finish this book, I can watch the remake and maybe the original movie and see how I feel about the adaptations. I don't know if there's another adaptation before the one that came out in the 90s, but very exciting stuff. So I don't really have much to report on that, except for Tom has just gotten on the ship to go to Europe to get this kid, Dickie, to get him to come back. So we'll see. But that's that. My dog threw up in the bed this morning, which is disgusting. And also he sleeps under the covers. So he was under the covers and I heard him gagging and I thought I got him in time. And then I looked back and no, it was disgusting. So I'm running a load of wash right now. And that's what I'm sort of waiting for. I was hoping it would be finished before I needed to go to work. And I think there's only like 10 minutes left, so I might just be late for work, which is not really the end of the world. I'll just have to make up the hour somewhere else and whatever, it'll be fine. I don't like doing that though. It stresses me out a little bit, but I just want to be able to throw it in the dryer before I leave. And then that's that. So this has been entirely too long of an update, but I wanted to let you know that I am starting this vlog. I've read some stuff already. I'm currently reading some stuff and I will let you know when I have other updates as they come. Hello, it is now Thursday and I am checking in because I did finish The End of Policing yesterday. I listened to the last of it when I was on my way to a hearing for work. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I didn't love it. I didn't mind it, but I just felt like it came out a few years ago. So I think it was released in 2016 or 2017 and nothing in it was new information for me really. So it did spend quite a lot of time on the background of like how the police came to be. And then it also talks a lot about like different ways that the police power has expanded in the past 50 odd years, which I think is interesting for someone who doesn't have a background knowledge of that. The biggest critique, I suppose, that I have of this book is it's called The End of Policing, right? And it's about why this author thinks that certain police reforms are not working. Why this author thinks that it's like expanding budgets for police isn't actually going towards things that help communities. It's going towards cool equipment to militarize the police with. And the extra training that police are getting doesn't actually give better results for the communities that those police officers are policing, which very valid. He had lots of like stats and had done a lot of research clearly. Like I'm not saying that he's wrong about any of that. My critique would be that it felt like he didn't really have any suggestions for what should be done instead of police. Like at one point he talks about mental health services and how there were a number of people the year before this book was written who called the police to help with a like mentally handicapped person and the police arrived and then shot that person. And how if we had proper like mental health, I don't even know what you would call that position, like mental health professionals who could be on call for 911, that maybe they could respond to those scenes. And I don't know if that's what this person was suggesting, but I just wanted him to have come forward with some kind of suggestion. Because I think that as a society, as a whole, a lot of us are realizing like certain ways we do things, not great, but we can sit here and point fingers at problems all day. You've got to find a solution, or like kind of what's the point? So again, not a bad book at all. I just wish it had been more solution focused rather than just being about why Alex S. Vitale, I don't know, thinks this is a problem. That being said, I am now reading I Am the Ghost in Your House by Mara Ramasco Moore. I've just started it. I'm like 15% in maybe. And I've switched what I'm reading this for. So originally I was going to read this as there was a prompt that was like either read a translated book or read a book with 5 or more words in the title. And I was going to do this for that. I've switched it because I've switched a couple of things around because one of the books that I wanted is not available at my library. So I think I'm just going to take it off my TBR entirely. And that's Let's Get Lost by Sarah Manning. Sorry to this man. I'm going to just ditch it, I think, because I can't find it. My library doesn't have any copies. I'm not going to buy it. So I'm probably just never gonna read it, but that's fine. Anyways, so for that prompt was a travel word or a map in the title, or a map in the book, and I'm moving Ruin and Rising to that. And Ruin and Rising was like a book with magic. That was what I was gonna read that for. So I'm moving I Am the Ghost in Your House to that because it's about a girl who her and her mother can turn invisible. And I believe it's fantasy horror. And so the premise is that this girl was born and her mother is invisible and she's also invisible. And they just move place to place because no one can see them. So they can't really like interact with society. But if they talk, people can hear them. And if they touch things, the thing they touch disappears, which is interesting. But at the beginning of this book, they are going to Pittsburgh because the daughter's name is Pi. I don't know what the mother's name is. Pi has been told, her mom lets her pick where they go next. And when she was a little girl, they were in Pittsburgh and she basically pretended to be like a ghost in this little girl's house and like kind of fell in love with the little girl. So she wants to find her and see what she's doing now, which is very dangerous for her in her mom's position. I don't know exactly how this is going to go, but I'm very curious about it. We also see that like Pi has a bit of a temper. So when she's mad, she keeps like tricking people and like turning, like she's at the grocery store and she turned the countertop invisible. And so everyone freaked out. And like, obviously stuff like that's kind of dangerous because like, I don't know that people would immediately jump to, oh, there's an invisible person here that is turning things invisible. But, you know, her mom doesn't really want her to do that. And also the other thing that's happening is her mom, they are able to like see each other because they can see like the outline and the reflection. Pi's mom keeps like fully disappearing and Pi doesn't know why that's happening. So that's really scary. So that's where we are. I don't know that much more about it than that, but they are in Pittsburgh right now and Pi is like trying not to tell her mom, but she is trying to find this girl. So her mom also clearly has some trauma from when Pi was conceived because she was like with a man and she always is telling Pi like, don't fall in love, men just leave you. So yikes. But yeah, I will let you know when I have another update. And yeah. Oh, also I went through and picked a couple of things that I'm gonna prompts that I can do for Orillium with the books that I'm already reading. So if I remember, I will hopefully remember to do a recap of the books that I've read in this vlog and what prompt they fulfill for Orillium. So that's also on the to-do list, but I don't have it in front of me right now, but I did do that. So we're looking good. Okay, see you soon. Hello, it is now Friday. Friday, as I like to call it. That was so stupid. But anyways, I have finished I Am the Ghost in Your House. I finished it yesterday and I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed this book. So it is a YA, horror, not really horror, like fantasy. I'm gonna say fantasy with a romance plot, but it's like not the fantasy that you're thinking of. So like I mentioned, the main character Pi and her mother are both invisible, and her mother used to be like a con artist, and that's how she ended up getting pregnant with Pi, because she was in a relationship with this con artist. Unclear to me how he figured out about the invisible community, but apparently he finds her and they had a relationship, and then she left when she found out she was pregnant because she didn't think it was a good situation for a baby to come into. So Pi never, like, she's met her dad a couple times and talked to him a few times, but she doesn't really know him. She goes back to Pittsburgh because her mom says that she can pick the place, and they just go place to place because they're staying in people's houses without the people knowing they're there. And basically people end up finding out that they're there and thinking that their house is haunted by ghosts. So that's like, I'm the ghost in your house. That's why it's called that. But she ends up going to Pittsburgh and her mother disappears for real, and she can't find her, and she doesn't know where she is, but she knows that like she was there to where Pi could see her, because Pi and her mother can see each other when they're invisible, but that they, like, normal people can't see them. And then her mom just disappears entirely. And this really freaks Pi out, but she's like, I've really got to figure out what I'm going to do. And she ends up like befriending this group of girls. And it's because she wanted to like find this girl Tess, who she met like when the last time she was in Pittsburgh a few years before. And she's like trying to get to Tess and see if there could be something there. And then along the way, she makes these other friends. And I really enjoyed this book. I thought this was so sweet and it's very memorable to me. I don't know how like universal a like for this book is, because I swear it was classed as horror. I don't think that's true. it definitely is fantasy, but again, it's not fantasy in the way you would think. There's not like magic. It's just this one quirk to the world, which is something that I actually really enjoy in a fantasy book, or like a sci-fi dystopian. Like I like the one quirk and seeing what that would like alter in your life and your experience. So I had a really good time with this, and I think if it's on your radar, I think it's one to check out. I will say, if this is gonna bother you, it's a little cringe at parts because the girl that Pi is interested in is really into the punk scene in Pittsburgh. And so there's like a lot of cringy stuff about her like punk band. And I'm saying cringy because like it is a little like they talk about being punks and being like hipsters, and like that's just kind of cringy to me. But I still really liked it. I thought it was a really great book, and that honestly didn't bother me. I just thought I'd point it out because I could see it bothering other people. The next thing I'm picking up is not on my Everbloom Academy TBR, but it is, I did figure out a way to put it on the Orillium TBR, and I put it in, there's one prompt for Orillium that's to read a book that's the color, like the cover of the book is the color of your birthstone. My birthstone is an opal. Opals come in lots of colors. I think they're primarily, like what I've seen is they're white with other colors in them, but I Googled it and it was like they could be white, black, purple, green, blue, like basically any color. So I'm reading Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano, which is a historical fiction, I guess, and I've started it. The way it's written is reminding me a little bit of The Dutch House, which is a book that I loved. I read that last month or the month before. Last month. I read it at the beginning of August, and I really, really loved that book. Like it's a contender for best book of the year for me. It's between that and one other book. But anyways, so I am glad that I'm reading this. It's about this guy, William, and when he was a baby, his older sister, who was 3 at the time, passed away, and his family was very like hush hush about it. And it's like the premise of the book is that his parents never had any joy after that, so he had a very joyless childhood. And then he meets this girl Julia, and Julia has these 3 younger sisters, and then she sort of like takes him into her like world and her life. And I don't know exactly where it's going to go from there, but where we have started, he has met Julia in college, and I think it's going to be like kind of a romance between them. And then also I think they have kids eventually, and it's going to follow that storyline. I don't exactly know, but I'm really excited to read it, and I will let you know what I think. Again, I'm like 3% of the way in. I listened to the first section this morning, and that's like basically it. But I'm glad that I'm reading it. Tonight I'm going to First Friday, because it's the first Friday of the month, and Kansas City does this thing in our arts district on Fridays where like art galleries are opened. A lot of places have like drinks and different like, I don't know, it's like an event. It's like a community event, I guess I should say. There's like a food truck corner where a bunch of food trucks park, and you can like eat different things, and I don't know. So I'm going to that with my friend. And then we were supposed to go to a Royals game tonight, but it turns out we actually bought tickets for the Royals game tomorrow night. So I will be doing that tomorrow with my husband. And today I'm just gonna go do this First Friday thing. I'm really excited. Regardless, I'm really excited to be hanging out with a friend tonight. I'm excited to go to the Royals game tomorrow. I'm excited to read Hello Beautiful, and I will let you know how it goes once I've read more of it. And I will try to maybe take a couple sneaky B-roll pics or clips tonight, and I will definitely take some at the game tomorrow, because I don't tell people in my real life that I have this channel. I know some of you have found me because a girl that I know in college comments on my videos sometimes. Hi Haley, if you're watching, which I love. And I do like, I have it linked in my link tree on Instagram, so people, it's like conceivably you could find it, but I just don't advertise that I have it, so I don't really know that people know that much. They might all know and just not be telling me. I don't know. But my husband obviously knows because he lives with me. He's here all the time. So anyways, look at all the boxes we have, by the way. We're moving, baby. It's crazy. So yeah, but I will let you know. Next week we're actually moving. So a week from tomorrow is moving day. We got a truck. We got people who are going to come take the furniture out of here. And we'll see how it goes. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm happy that it's hopefully, I mean, I guess it could still fall through, but because we haven't closed yet. We close on Wednesday. But I'm really excited. So anyways, I will let you know when I have another update, hopefully soon. Hello, it is Sunday night. So this vlog ended yesterday. I have not read anything else. I just wanted to come here quickly and wrap up what I did read this week and what prompts they fulfilled for the readathons that I'm doing right now. So first up, on Sunday last week, I read Romancing Mr. Bridgerton by Julia Quinn, which I have put in the prompt of the A level for alchemy, which is chemical breakdown, a book that will make you emotional. I thought that this one might make me emotional. It didn't actually work out that way, but it is what it is. Then the second book that I read last week was The End of Policing by Alex S. Vitale, or Vitale, I'm not really sure how it's pronounced. And I read that for the Everbloom Academy prompt of Arcane Ethics, which is a book that teaches a lesson or has good versus evil, because I figured it's a nonfiction, it teaches you something. And then I also have it for the A level of astronomy, which is, or not A, I have them on ABC on here, but I'm pretty sure that they stand for something else. Sorry, the first level of astronomy, which is Constellation Cradle, a book released in your birth month. This book was released at the beginning of October. I was born in October, so it counts. And then the third thing that I read was I Am the Ghost in Your House by Mara Masco Moore. And for the Readathon, I'm using Orillium, whatever. I'm so tired. For the Orillium Readathon, I'm using this as the inscription first level prompt, which is The Art of Decipher, a title that has all the letters of your first name, because AM is AM, and then your has Y and R. Mary, it counts. It's not my full first name, but we're going with it. I don't know how I forgot that my first name is actually Mary Jo, but that's fine. So I'm counting that for that. And then that also counted for the History of Magic prompt for Everbloom Academy, which is a book featuring magic. And then I did start, but I have not completed, what is it called? It's by Anne Napolitano, Hello Beautiful. And I'm not reading that for anything for Everbloom Academy, but it is going to count for a prompt in Orillium Birthstone Properties, which is the first prompt for Artificery, a book with the color of your birthstone. My birthstone is opal, so opals can be like any color, and this has like a lot of really pretty colors, and I've seen opals that are like blue and green or whatever, which is what this is, so I'm counting that for that. I have not made any more progress in it than I did when I told you on Friday, I believe, because I have not read any more of that. I did read a little bit more of The Talented Mr. Ripley. It is still going quite slowly for me. I'm not like super obsessed with it, but it is what it is. I'm closer to finishing that. I'm not that far into it, though. I'm not even halfway yet, I don't think. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this week's vlog. Stick around for next week's vlog, which will be posted next week. And I'm going to start it tomorrow, I guess, because I didn't really read anything today. So that's it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you would like to, you can subscribe to my channel, because I do post a video to 2 videos a week. And I will see you in another one very soon. Bye.